Greetings everyone, my name is Bife here. So, the last few days have been pretty turbulent, needless to say. I don't need to explain to anyone why, I don't think. It's been a little over a week since we heard about the announcement that Destiny will no longer be receiving live service updates. I've already talked a bit about my thoughts on this, and I recommend that if you're still trying to process your own frustrations and feelings, then have a video that might actually help contextualize some of that. It's the last one that I made. I'll link it down at the very bottom of the description. Today, though, I do need to talk selfishly just a little bit, and I need to talk to the core community around this channel, because I want to talk today about the plans for what's to come next, what I'll be covering, and how I'll be dealing with content going forward. The biggest thing I want to say at the very top of this is to reiterate what I said at the end of my last video. I will still be making content on Destiny, though inevitably as time goes on, the tempo of that content is going to change and it's going to slow down. Slowly, it will get phased into a lower degree of consistency because unless another Destiny game gets made, I don't think there's going to be as much demand. I don't think I'm ever going to get away from the identity of being someone who covered the lore of Destiny for a long time, but I do want to make sure that I am able to progress into whatever comes next. I don't want to be staying with Destiny forever, but I also don't want to abandon my roots. As a general rule of thumb, I do plan on transitioning to variety content, and I plan on finding the stories you want me to tell wherever they might be. I know that'll come with a fair degree of bittersweetness, and the feelings around that are valid. Destiny is the thing that was the core of my content for the last decade. There's not many people who can say that, hey, I've covered something for a decade, and I'm really privileged to be in a position where I can say that. The whole of Destiny, be it good or bad, is kind of core to who I am. It's part of what created my brand, and it also has to be noted as the place where my community has mostly been drawn from. So, yeah, Destiny matters, even if it's one of those things that's not progressing into the future. I'm gonna need to make more content on it, but the tempo will slow down. That being said, I also know that the community that's left over from that is going to feel really listless. It's part of the reason why I talked about third spaces in the last video that I made. Everyone is going to be feeling very lost, and a part of the process of grieving Destiny is the recognition that it was the place where our community congregated, and that's not going to be the same anymore. I think everyone's coping with that in their own way. Some people are doing more than others, some people are letting go, but ultimately my answer to this is to try and use what I can to pull people together and to hold this community together. Not the whole of the Destiny community, mind you. I understand that that's impossible for any one creator to do. I mean, take a look at Frostbolt, right? Love the guy, he's a really pleasant fellow, but him and I think, have completely different audiences. Then take a look at someone who might subscribe to, say, Evase. Him and I both do lore content, and so there's a much larger degree of overlap. But even so, he'll have viewers that watch him for something unique, and I'll have viewers that watch me for something unique. When I talk about the community here, I'm kind of talking about the people who watch this channel generally. And yeah, I understand that not having Destiny content is going to make it weird. The community needs somewhere to congregate. And so, my answer to that question of where is essentially that I want to try and make that the Patreon. I'm going to try and make this a place where if you want a community that really cares about lore and stories in both Destiny and in Worlds Beyond, then you can find it there. And I know what you're thinking, oh my god, it's a Patreon, I don't have money for this. And that's totally valid. But here's the thing, Patreon has a free tier, and I am planning to make regular use of it alongside the paid tiers that they've established. Now, obviously I would love for a bunch of people to sign up as patrons, but at current I know that money is tight for a lot of people, so I think it's important to make sure that we support those free tiers. With that in mind, if you just sign up to the Patreon and subscribe for free, you will get weekly access to something that any Destiny veteran is going to raise an eyebrow at, and that is the TWAB. Yeah, I totally co-opted the name, and whilst before it would have stood for This Week at Bungie, now I think it's appropriate that it stands for This Week at Bife. I feel like it's a great way of honoring the roots of the channel and the community, and, well, veterans will understand what's going on with it. It'll be my way of keeping you all keyed into what's going on with content, the channel, and everything else on Patreon. And before anyone says it, no, I'm not going to worry about This Week at Tassie. He has his twat, I have my twab. That's probably a... You know, He knew what he was doing when he named it that. I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Whatever. Paul has his thing, I have mine. I do also understand that when it comes to something like that, not everyone wants to read an article, so I'll also be doing audio logs for that. Don't think like some lore thing that goes into me reading through whatever. It's literally just an informal thing of me on the mic telling you what's going on week by week. So, you know, if you want to go ahead and catch up with me in a more informal setting, that's how you can do it. As far as other free content, I also thought that it was appropriate to start something called Rumor Control. And yes, this is a reference to one of the few inoffensive things about Alien 3. Basically, with my content, be it new or old, there's going to be some moments where inevitably I get something wrong. Rumor Control is where I can correct the record and host a discussion around those things. It's something that hopefully gives you guys a bunch of value. Regardless of whether you're a paid member of the Patreon or not, you'll be able to talk about it and give your own thoughts. And to be really clear about it, none of this is hypothetical. I'm not promising something with just a bill of goods. We've already made the first couple of entries of these. After I'm done recording this video, I'm going to sit down and record the next TWAB. But the first one released like a week ago. Literally, I think the same day or the day after the Destiny news got announced. That's when I started making these changes. As for paid members of the community in the Patreon, of course there will be more content. I'm testing a new format where $5 patrons and above can ask questions of me every week in a lore Q&A. Good ones, regardless of whatever game or IP it's from, they get made into YouTube shorts and your questions get put up front and center for everyone else to see. And you get early access to those if you're part of the Patreon. But it doesn't just stop there. Giving $5 also gets your name in the credits, giving $10 gets you audio-only versions of my videos at current. I may retool that a little bit more as time goes on. And $20 gets you early access to the long-form content that I'm making from here on out. Granted, there are some videos that are already in the works and already have stuff going on, so at the end of the day, that's going to be something that whirs up into action sort of closer to June 9th. I'll let you know exactly when that is in a coming TWAB. Isn't it handy to have one? I've also talked a bunch to my lovely wife, aka Nerd and Needle, and she's working on patches for the Patreon. We'll probably release these as drops through Patreon itself, so you can pay for each one independently while it's still available. I'll have more updates on them when they're ready for production, but I know for a fact that the first set of these that's coming out is going to probably be my channel logo. If you're looking for something special and commemorative, look out for that. That'll be something that I announce in the TWAB as well. Also, I'm so bad at this. Check the link at the top of the description. Go to the Patreon, sign up for free, or if you are so inclined, go ahead and pay for a tier. You can get your name in the credits and all sorts of things. Go, check it out now. There's free stuff on there too. But what about the rest of everything? I'm not just here to talk about Patreon. What other games am I going to cover? And the answer is, well, if I'm doing variety, a bunch of them. Over the years, I've heard tons of recommendations, and I've tried a few things out with some success. Warframe, Marathon, Final Fantasy XIV, Cyberpunk, Doom, Warhammer 40k, Mass Effect, Divinity, Diablo, and a ton of others. All of them are on the docket. I think I'll be jumping into a bunch of those universes for sure, but for the moment I know that my first big project is going to be D&D and more specifically Baldur's Gate 3. I talked a little bit about this a few videos ago, and the idea is to make a massive retrospective. And I hope to have this released later this summer. For context, this is a massive multi-hour video without a doubt. Just the sheer amount of footage that I have from the on-mode run that I did tells me that's how long it's going to be. It's going to sort of be a lore video mixed with commentary, mixed with a let's play, mixed with a whole bunch of other nonsense that I think is going to be really interesting. Most of all though, it'll be a celebration of everything that game is and a look into the unique story that I crafted with my character as I was making my way through that universe. It's not the only thing I'm going to do, it's just that D&D is such a vast universe that I couldn't possibly fit all of it into a 10-hour video. And, well, I don't think I'll be able to do a 10-hour video anytime soon. We need to find an expansive universe that I just know that much about before that ever happens again. Plus, BG3 itself is a game, much like a lot of other RPGs, where there are numerous impactful choices and outcomes, so every playthrough is genuinely different. So from here on outwards, if the format of doing that kind of mixed let's play, retrospective, commentary, lore video type thing works, it'll be what I use to cover games that have a lot of freeform choices which are meaningful and will change the outcomes of everything you do in your playthrough. Think something like, say, Cyberpunk or Mass Effect. More traditional and linear games will get a complete lore and story video, as you're all used to though. I also want to make sure that we still cover unique and interesting tidbits of lore from each universe as we go, so you can expect long-form lore videos on the individual topics that arise within each universe that we cover. To give you an idea of something that might be really good, I feel as though there are videos on certain characters in BG3 that definitely warrant coverage. Just to pull a name out of the hat, take a look at a character like Raphael. If you've never played BG3, he's a character that you meet fairly early on, has massive impacts on the story, and has a really interesting set of background notes that you can find about him. He is, to put it bluntly, one of the best villains in video games, and I think someone like that is worthy of a lore video. To give you another example, I could look at, say, individual species in Mass Effect. A good look at, say, the history of the Turians, or the history of the Krogans and their rebellions, stuff like that. On the note of other kinds of content, I know that I've also taken a little bit of a hiatus on Twitch yet again, and I think that we're going to keep streaming, but only on a more occasional basis. I tried doing it weekly, and it was burning me out really fast. As a result, no weekly schedule anymore, no massive commitments. Instead, streams will be on YouTube and Twitch as they were before, and I'll try and make them more into kind of special events more than anything else. For example, I haven't spoken about this to anyone, but at some point with this final June update, I do want to try and make it so that we can do a massive raidathon on stream, and just do every raid and every encounter that was added to Pantheon, and also go through the lore of what's happening in each raid. That's also something I want to go ahead and put out on the channel properly, as well as on Twitch and YouTube. So if you want to just have it as a long-form video, it'll also be there, and you can still catch up with it. On the down low, I'm also playing a weekly honor mode run of BG3 with some friends, so if there's interest in me continuing to stream that, just let me know. Perhaps I'll be able to finish the one stream run that we had of honor mode where we were playing as John Bardington III. I don't know, some people in the YouTube chat will definitely remember that. It's still in my save files, it's not been lost. But for those of you looking into the future of the channel, I also want your input on what you want to see. I've already asked for it a bunch of times and in a bunch of different places, and that's because every time I've been absorbing those comments. I can't catch all of you every single time I ask, so I've been asking a bunch. If you want your say on what you want me to cover, the best places to tell me are now on Patreon and right here in the YouTube comments. The channel isn't just mine alone. I do make the content, and yeah, sure, the ad revenue goes to making sure I can pay my bills and pay my editor Martin, but at the end of the day, when I finish making the content, when we upload it to the channel, I sort of cede control of it to you guys, if that makes sense. Much like the content in a game, which stops being purely the creator's creation and their own thing, it kind of all becomes yours when you interact with that media. It's your entertainment. It's only fair, therefore, that you should have a bit of a say in it where possible. So yeah, tell me what you want. I know that this is a really down time for the era that everyone's in right now, but my content isn't going anywhere. The old content is going to remain up. I think if nothing else, I'm going to take some time to re-clarify and straighten out the Destiny chronological playlist, and I do think that there's still a lot of potential in all of the universes that we get to cover. And I don't think I want to stop Destiny content completely either. You know, some days I'm just going to be inspired and I'll want to talk about something in Destiny. Be it the Ahamkara, be it Oryx and the story of him and how he rose to power. Be it the Worm Gods, be it the Winnower, be it the Witness, be it Rolk. Whatever it may be, sometimes a universe is just going to catch my fancy, and my dream, my hope is that one day I get to just talk about a cool story whenever I find it. Like, this is very much a pipe dream, but did you know how much cool lore there is in Command & Conquer? Like, yeah, sure, it's all a bunch of nonsense, and I'm sure everyone remembers the one bit where it's just Tim Curry going to space. But take a look at the Tiberium trilogy, for example. There's some really awesome background stuff in that game that doesn't get discussed a lot. And if I do have a game like this, I kind of just want to run a channel where I can cover whatever I want and where you guys will trust that my judgment has brought it to you because I think it's a cool story. And then of course there's the other side to this where it's a bit of push and a bit of pull, where you guys also get to sit there and say, hey, there's a really amazing story you should think about covering with this game, or this game, or this game. Or this universe for that matter. I don't know, this is definitely a big change. The last chapter of this channel's major Destiny era is starting today. The new chapter, where we look to universes near and far, is already beginning as well. I can only hope that you'll join me as we venture out into those distant stars. But regardless of whether you've been here for the entire journey or whether you're new, if you stay around with me, I'm very glad that you're here. And hopefully, we can keep building this channel into something that you guys want to interact with and want to keep watching. Now, all that being said, as I pointed out last video, it's a new era, and that means a new sign-off. So with that being said, my name is Byf. Ad Astra et Ultra. I'll see you Starside.